Hey, I'm Tim from Circuitous Effects, and you're watching Defining Circuit. Defining Circuit is a periodic interview series where I chat with fellow creators in the music world about what inspired and defined their passion for building, the moments, ideas, experiences, and even the circuit that sparked their drive to create for musicians. Grant Shortell from Ghost Formulas joins me for this episode. Welcome, Grant.
Hey man, how you doing?
Good. Let's start with a little about yourself and how you got into the pedal business.
Okay. It kind of started during COVID, really. I had a lot of time on my hands. I wasn't working. And I started watching a lot of videos about pedals. I was watching the JHS show for several years. And, I've been playing guitar since I was like 10. So I've been playing pedals for a long time, but just never really opened one or had any interest in what they were doing. Just assumed it was beyond me, if I even thought that far into it. And so I have a friend we've been friends since we were like 10, and he's like pretty much a genius. And we've been in bands together and stuff. And we were talking about pedals and how maybe we could do this. And he's just so smart and all that stuff. So thinking about kind of just putting our heads together and doing something. And during COVID, I picked up an Earthquaker Tone Reaper,
Okay.
which I think is like a Mark II tone bender.
Mhm.
And because we had been talking about pedals, I opened it and I was looking at it, and it just didn't seem that complicated,
Yeah.
And I sent a picture to him because I don't even know if I knew what a resistor was at the time. I was that just but I liked the idea of making something work. Plugging things in and making it work, and kind of seeing the wizardry happen. That's what it felt like to me when I built my first pedal, was like wizardry. So I had been talking to my fiance about it, and at Christmas she bought me a kit, a BYOC delay kit, the digital delay.
Okay.
And so I put it together, and like every day that I sat down to build it, I was sweating and shaking because I didn't even. She bought me a soldering iron, like she bought me everything, and I had never soldered before, and it worked. Long story short, it worked, and
Yeah,
so
amazing.
that kind of led me to wanting to build more. And I really got into just designing the front of a pedal, the top of a pedal,
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, and even like the way the circuit board looked with the box and everything, the color of the
Mm.
board, and so the aesthetic of it all really kind of sucked me in even more. And then I kind of just decided to throw a name on it, which was Ghost Formulas. And I guess here we are.
Yeah, that's great. So, as you were kind of moving away from the kit into designing your own thing, what are some of the circuits you looked at, or even some of the prototypes maybe that you got into to kind of get you going and centering on towards the thing that you finally put out the first time?
Good question. So I think it was a combination of seeing the way things looked, and then also trying to approach more simple circuits in the beginning, even though like I was really into, early kind of analog chorus pedals and stuff.
Yeah.
Those have a lot of components in them, and I wanted to start simple naturally. So after the delay pedal, I got a few more kits.
Mm.
Uh, and after building a few of those, I got kind of bored with kits, and wanted to just try something a little more involved. And so I started buying components, and I started buying some of the pedal PCB circuit boards,
Okay.
and then buying, the enclosures, just kind of dipping my toes in buying things in different places,
Yeah.
and kind of having to like source my own stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
And that was super fun. I enjoyed that a lot more. And then as far as like the aesthetic goes, I was really attracted to what Land Devices was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, E2, I thought just looked so cool. I'm like not historically like a huge fan of military looking things, but I saw that pedal. I like a lot of military
Yeah.
things, like,
Yeah.
and I just thought it looked cool, like a landmine almost or something. Like it just has this thing. And so, just designing things. And then as far as like circuits that I was really drawn to, it was boosts and overdrives. And so I kind of was getting ahead of myself with designing the outside. I just would spend so much time on making that look the way I wanted it to look.
Yeah.
And I was really like just trying to find something that sounded sick that could go in that box, and like something I would use, something that would, apply to the music I write or play or whatever. And I was really limited. Like I didn't really have a way to print anything like letters or anything like that, or put like a picture on it. I didn't really know how to do it through like screen printing or anything like that. So I just started spray painting and using painter's tape,
Yeah.
and just kind of doing everything by eye, which is just like incredibly time consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the process of after doing that, I stumbled on guitar effects layouts and started, doing the strip boards, which, are really hard to do. They're messy, kind of like,
Yeah.
it's easy to have solder bridges and stuff like that. So while I was doing that, actually, I built this Wolf computer pedal that
It's a great circuit.
it's really cool. And I had never really played a pedal quite like it before. And so I built one, and my daughter was in the room, and I was playing something, and she was like, whoa, that sounds so cool. And I thought it sounded really cool too. So I threw it in I had painted this like brown box that ended up being the design of the UV2 that I have. And I ended up changing the color to green, and I just started making videos about it.
One of the things that I think I noticed when I was looking at your Instagram stuff, I didn't even know you were doing all of that stuff hand painted with painter's tape, right? I was thinking this must be printed on there because the lines were so meticulous and everything looked so graphically solid. And it was amazing to figure out that you were doing all of that by hand. So that was, pretty incredible. And since then, I've gotten one of your UV2s, which like it's a super cool, fun pedal to play. And so I think that's a lot to be proud of, right? Making something like that. A couple of things we talked about offline I think would be really interesting, which are things that we haven't really talked about on this show yet, are first, like, especially for beginners, the initial cost of getting into doing something like this, right? And then how that changes over time as you start understanding what you're doing and knowing what you should be focusing on. You said your fiance got you a kit, right? And did she get you the soldering iron as well? Or yeah, okay, so that's pretty cool. So then after you figured out, hey, I like this stuff, what do you get into? I mean, what was it like trying to figure out what you needed for all of this?
Yeah, it was kind of overwhelming, especially when I was looking into having my pedals UV printed. I assumed it would be, somewhat expensive, but I just wasn't thinking about minimum quantities and all those things. And so once I started learning about all of that, I started realizing like, okay, this is going to cost me hundreds of dollars, up front, just to have the pedals the way I want them. And even like just printing on the side of the UV2, just the Ghost formulas on the side, even though it's just maybe 20 letters, it's still an extra $250 per enclosure.
Right.
Because whatever is on that side is what it is the cost,
Yeah.
But the way it looked meant more to me, than $2, I guess, at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I started out once I found out about Tata, that was great. But yeah, I mean that saved a lot of money, and the minimum quantities that you had to buy on like their website was just on resistors, really, and it was 10, and they were like a penny each. So it just, it's fine. Even though you just need two, it's fine. It wasn't too bad just getting components and all the little things. Those didn't seem too much up front, but it was really the enclosures. I think 25 at the time maybe cost around $600.
Yeah.
I think it's been
insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good point to bring up, though, for people who wonder why sometimes pedals that we sell are more than they think they should be, right? Even if they're simple circuits or circuits that I should say appear simple or sound simple. Not only, and I know this has been discussed on plenty of other websites, including JHS, but the R&D that goes into it, the work that goes into it, and then, of course, the enclosure cost. I mean, there's a reason why pedals cost a certain amount of money, and it's not because we're trying to become rich, right? It's kind of far from it. So that's an interesting piece of information.
Yeah. And, for me, I realized pretty quickly that I didn't even really care so much about making money. Like I like just building them, and I just like, getting them in people's hands and then seeing if they liked them. Yeah. And the selling part was just kind of a part of it that just never really like mattered all that much. Yeah. But I mean, before I was building guitar pedals, I never looked at a guitar pedal and, observed it from front to back and thought about how much extra it would cost to print 10 letters on the right side of the pedal.
It's crazy.
Never thought about it. But I've never thought like, if only you knew why this pedal was $200 or
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's something to consider going into it. If you're willing to sit there and spray paint everything, there's going to be a lot of people out there who appreciate that
Yeah.
and see a value in just having something that you spent a lot of time on. And that's cool, but you're going to pay with your time. So having something like UV printed, for example, saves me time. And truly, like, just making one of the pedals that I was making took so much time because I would spray paint the green boxes, if you will, and then I'd have to, that would dry and then take the tape off. And then that had to be very dry. And then I'd have to tape on top of that and then make the lines for the white and then spray paint those and then take it off. And then, and so I really enjoyed that in the beginning, but, it just took way too much time.
So another thing we talked about offline was, and I think a lot of us are going through this, especially with the last year being almost completely dry for pedal cells. I mean, a lot of people have been feeling this, at least small builders and things like that. Many of us started in that, what do I do during COVID, or what do I do, after COVID? This is really interesting. I want to get into this thing. And now we're coming up on, 5 years of building and trying to get our stuff out to other people. And we talked a little about the idea that burnout starts to fade in a little bit, that you've been building and hustling and trying to sell, even though we're not trying to make a lot of money, right? And so I'd like to get your take on what that has felt for you.
I don't know anyone else besides Mike at Seeker that does this only. You have to have another job, and so for me, I think I set myself up for burnout. And my job at the time, I had a split shift job, so I'd go to work at 6 a.m. and I'd go back to work like at 3, and I get home at p.m. So I would wake up at 4 a.m. and I'd build and study because I didn't know much about a circuit. I just thought they were cool, Yeah. So I really had to learn, and I wanted to learn. And so at literally 4 a.m. every morning, I'd brew coffee, sit down, and I'd either be building something or reading up on stuff as best I could understand. And between shifts, I was doing that too, And I'd get home from work in the evening, and a lot of evenings I would be doing that till 8 o'clock, and I'd go to bed. And so after about maybe a year and a half of building, I was feeling the burnout starting, and my interests were just veering from wanting to build to wanting to just play music.
Yeah.
And we were heading into winter here, and I knew I was going to be depressed. And so I went on antidepressants. And at that time, I ended up having to go back home to take care of some family things. And I was back home for a month. And all of those things affected me at the same time. Like the antidepressants were causing weight gain like I've never experienced. Yeah. And so the combination of being on those medications and sitting all day long building guitar pedals and having a stressful job, it was just overwhelming. And I became completely beaten down physically. Like mentally, I was feeling okay, but physically, I was just sleeping like garbage because I was overweight. Like, I mean, it was like COVID, antidepressants, it was kind of everything. So I got back home from being in California for about a month, and I just couldn't even stand looking at one of my guitar pedals. I didn't want to even open one. I didn't want to touch a circuit board. I barely even wanted to look at other people's guitar pedals. For whatever reason, I just had it. So I just started playing guitar more, and that was really fulfilling. And, I kind of haven't looked back. I've built a pedal or two since then, but that was over a year ago now. Okay. And, I've been debating, announcing a hiatus or something, because I don't want to give it up necessarily, because it's been very fun and so rewarding. Yeah. But at the same time, I hate sitting down, period. I don't sit. And so having to sit all the time, it's just became too much for me. I think that alone was enough to burn me out, And so that's kind of where I am. And so, I also like haven't been affected really by that drag that people have been feeling of like the industry kind of maybe collapsing or like kind of hitting a ceiling or whatever.
Right.
So I guess that's good. But I mean, I definitely in the beginning felt kind of overwhelmed by just being like a speck of sand in like the sea.
Yeah.
And
Oh, there's so many people out there now.
yeah, and it's cool. Like it's cool seeing, I only have like maybe 1,000 followers or something, but when someone has like 100, it's so cool like seeing that.
Right.
Like people
Oh,
that
yeah.
are still like aspiring and like wanting to start and just show their stuff. So that's cool, but it definitely at times feels like another one, you know?
Yeah, 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 right.
That's
No, no,
natural.
I think this is a really important story to share though, because you're not the only one that's feeling this, right? And I think, one of the reasons why I went into doing this interview series was a little of that as well. I mean, I still have some stuff that I want to put out. I still have some new ideas, but I definitely needed something that allowed me to kind of still feel that excitement, right? And I really support the industry. I support all of the amazing people, especially like you said, those with 100 followers. That's amazing to like see all the new people coming out and saying, look what I'm learning how to do, or look what I'm doing. There's just some crazy inspiring stuff out there. And I love the fact that you're being vulnerable enough to share that with us. It's really cool.
Thanks. And I mean, when I was in the kind of the beginning stages and kind of reaching out to a network, trying to find a network in that ocean, I probably stumbled on you through Mike. I'm guessing
Maybe.
I probably
Yeah.
followed him first as Seeker and noticed he was in, Camarillo, and I'm from Simi Valley. And I saw that I found you and you're in Moore Park. And
Yeah.
so, oh, and I think I'd already seen Brenya Effects, Eric's stuff,
Right.
and him in Simi Valley. And so reached out to you. I was like, hey man, like I'm from Simi or whatever,
Yeah.
and you were like so welcoming right away. Like,
I don't know. That's one thing about this community that I loved right away is the openness. First, the openness for everyone to share, right? Like what they're doing. Like there's very little proprietary stuff happening in this world. And then secondly, like just the willingness to even like take some time out to get together. I mean, it's been incredible. And we've made so many cool friends through all of this, which is like not something you can say for a lot of other communities that start in the Instagram space, right?
yeah, it's like it's not competitive for the most part. Anyone that I've reached out to with like questions or even just saying like, hey man, I really love what you're doing. Everyone's just so cool about
Yeah.
sharing with you like where they get their enclosures from or whatever it is. I feel the same way. I feel like the most intimidating part has been allowing myself to be a part of it naturally without just thinking I can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. No,
You know?
that's exactly how I
Yeah.
feel. Well, hey, that's a wrap. Thanks, Grant. It was really good catching up with you.
All right, man. Yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the conversation, stick around. More interviews are on the way where I'll keep exploring all the things that define why we do what we do. I'll talk to you soon, Grant.
All right. See ya.